Okay, we're going to do another Holley video. This is going to be on a 4-barrel. I've dismantled the whole carburetor. I'm not going to bore you guys with disassembling all this. We will go through the assembly process and how we clean it up and how all the passages work for the idle, off idle, main, power valve systems on this carb. This carb happens to be a 2818 carburetor. It's got a 434 date code. Pretty rare carburetor. The first thing I want to go through is the problems which I showed on the 6-pack carburetor setup. Pertains directly to the 4 barrels. They're identical. So what I'm going to show you is how bad these surfaces are warped, and when they're warped, your gasket is not going to seal properly around the power valve vacuum chamber. It's not going to seal around between your idle circuit here and the main circuit here, so you're going to be pulling fuel across these areas because you don't have a seal. And on top of it, you're going to get fuel leaking into the vacuum chamber, which goes directly through the base plate through this hole, and you got a constant vacuum source there. That's how the power valve stays closed until your vacuum falls off below what it's rated at, and it opens up and allows additional fuel into the main metering well besides just the jets. So now you can hand file these. The 4 barrels aren't as hard as doing the 6-pack carburetors, because the 6-pack carburetors, they have this bump here for the vacuum pods and the vacuum takeoff from the center carb. And when you're filing, you're bumping into this, so you can't just get a good straight shot. So you got to really work it and use a small file in here. Takes a long time, but it can be done. But so before I put this in my tank and cleaned everything or bead blasted anything, I just keep it the dark original color so we can see how. And now this is an aluminum file. If you guys are going to file this stuff, this is a die cast material. You want to use an aluminum file. They're more coarse. You want to go from all directions on this. Now you can just see right away, you can see all these shiny spots. These are all the high spots. These are all the low spots. These are all the spots that are going to leak, fuel and stuff into this vacuum chamber. You're going to leak between the main system and the idle system, and you're going to get all kinds of screwed up situations. Cars running too rich. You can't get the idle control circuits to work. You have to open the throttle blades too much to get enough air in to compensate for that extra fuel that's coming from places it shouldn't go. So these need to be surfaced. They have to be flat. And also the metering blocks, they'll warp across the face, and they'll warp this way, so the outer edges are touching and it's hollow in the middle. I put these in a jig I built and compress them down, and I put them in an oven at like 280 degrees, and I heat them, I leave them cool, I retorque them. It usually takes 3 times to bring these things back flat. And then now your metering block's flat. We'll surface this area, it'll be flat, and this thing will seal up 100%. Now the other problem that is overlooked is the base. This base is also badly warped. Now I'm not going to file a lot on these, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to keep working and working and filing and filing, and all these high spots have got to come down before you're making contact with this basin here. And this is a very overlooked problem, because these are your idle and off idle circuits, these holes, and that's where your fuel is going to be pulled through your base plate here. You know, it's going to come out your idle circuit hole down here. This is your transition slot. Now when this is not sealed here, your engine wants to be pulling vacuum from this idle circuit down here, but it's got a leak up here because it's not sealed. So your engine vacuum is pulling, throttle blades are covering this, and it's trying to pull vacuum from up in the body, but it's leaking out this edge here. So you got a huge vacuum leak, so you're not pulling the correct amount of fuel. It's almost like you got a double air bleed system. You know, these are the air bleeds up in the top of the carb, which what they do is they allow air. It's like a straw, you're sucking on it, and there's a hole in it, and it's going to allow air to enter in with the fuel, and it like gives it that emulsification, or I like to call it an aerosol spray can effect. So the next step what we're going to do is I'm going to surface these mating surfaces. I'm going to straighten out the metering blocks, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, we've got the carburetor body set up in the milling machine. I've got it set. I'm going to take a 5/1000ths pass off the face and see if that cleans it up. If not, we try to take as minimum amount off as we can. So that's our 5/1000ths pass. Let me zoom this out here. Remember, this is low buck production, so you're gonna have to just grin and bear it. But that surface, I cleaned it all up. Now that surface is dead flat. I'll do the other side, flip it around on my jig, and then when I'll show you a video of surfacing the bottom. I'm not going to show you doing the other side. Okay, we've done both surfaces on the face. Now we're going to do the bottom. Same thing, I set up for 5,000s for the first pass. The second end of this one didn't quite clean up at 5,000, so I took another 3,000s off to get it cleaned up. It'll vary on how badly they're warped if they get pits in them. Okay, I'm gonna set up and make the next pass. I'm not gonna run the video, but you know, there's the first pass. The cutter isn't big enough to make it all in one swat, so we'll hit the other side and we'll look at the whole thing on the workbench after I get done.